So the arcade gods continue to not answer Dr. Mike and my prayers for a Jaguar Mini. However, we do have an SNK MVS Mini, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly at KELLYTHUL on social media, and joining me, as always,
I'm the body that used to host Dr. Mike's voice at Official Pagan on everything. If you guys can't hear, I just got over the flu, but I'm feeling good, so no need to worry about me. And that's my official medical opinion. So you know you can trust it. You know what another thing you can trust is? You're always going to love this show. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a couple of comments to help us with the algorithm, caress that algorithm. You know what we're going to do in return for you? We're going to give you the world's shortest podcast every day for free. It's called Hard No. It's right here, free with your free subscription. It doesn't get any better than that. Oh, wait, it does get better. We sell merchandise and you can buy it. You can have us all over your bodies. You're welcome.
there you go. Maybe I should start introducing. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly, and with me, as always, is Bonnie Tyler. And can do It's a Heartache. It'd be awesome. All right, cool. Well, it had been so Madlittlepixel, one of our favorite YouTube channels, flagged something that he had actually predicted about 3 years ago, or had seen news of, that SNK, who is all about making the minis in all sorts of different versions and all sorts of different varieties, had another one coming out, and he had even an image of it. But then there was a hiatus of news for some time, but it has come back with a vengeance. And he shared a nice video on it that alerted Dr. Mike and I to it. We thought we'd talk about it a little bit as well. So you're an owner of mini minis and other arcade systems. Do you have any versions of the SNK Mini?
I do. I'm a big Neo Geo fan, huge Neo Geo fan. So for anybody who doesn't know what those are, they were arcade cabinets where the arcade owners, instead of having to buy new cabinets when new games would come out, could actually switch out cartridges inside the unit. So it was just a Neo Geo cabinet, and then there were multiple cartridge slots. So as SNK released new games, they would switch out the cartridges, and the marquee would just reflect what games were available at the time. Arcade owners loved it because obviously it saved them money. And what was cool with the cartridge system is SNK was able to make Neo Geo home units that played the actual cartridges. The problem with it is they were insanely expensive because they were the actual cartridges that were in the arcade games. Larger cartridges are more expensive to produce, just like anything else. You know, if it's bigger and more intricate, it's more expensive. So games would run you a few $100 for a Neo Geo system. So it was originally only intended as a rental unit through like video stores and things like that. And then eventually you could buy it as well. I didn't know anyone who owned a Neo Geo console. I only saw it once in the wild in a store. It was like $1,000. And of course, the games are a few $100 each. They did eventually try to put out a Neo Geo CD system. I say try, they did put out a Neo Geo CD system, but the initial units had a really slow CD drive. And because Neo Geo games are very large, that was one of the things they were known for. Their games would be coming in at hundreds of megs, which compared to, most console games at the time this was coming out were like 4 megs, 8 megs. So they were gigantic games. So with the slower CD system, there was tons of loading time with it. So the Neo Geo CD was not well received. Neo Geo collections were eventually released on, PlayStation, PlayStation 2, every console that would accept it, Xbox. So most people got their hands on all the games they liked. They did do a sort of mini console. They were actually the first ones to do it. Long before the NES Classic, the Neo Geo Gold came out. What the Gold was a handheld Switch style system with built-in Neo Geo games, and then you could add more games using a memory card. It came inside a charging case that looked like a full-size Neo Geo. So you plugged your handheld into that, and when it was docked in there, you could connect the dock through a USB to your TV and play it on the TV as well with a full-size controller. So they were actually the first ones to do a mini console. The Gold was not well received though. There were some weird glitches with the emulation and stuff, and a lot of people hated it. As somebody who never got to own a Neo Geo, I absolutely loved my ex. It was not very well made though, and most of them are not around anymore. Mine is barely playable. So Unfortunately, it is what it is. They kind of disappeared again for a while, other than the collections, which are always everywhere on every platform. Then they started putting out these Neo Geo minis. Their new minis are weird in the sense that they're very high quality, but they're essentially a mini arcade machine, similar to like the quarter scale arcades that we were looking at. And you can play it on the actual mini arcade machine, or you can hook the arcade machine through USB up to your TV and play it on the TV. The problems with it though, and they're very well made. The emulation is excellent. The problem that it has is playing it on the device while the screen is actually really nice. It's not great trying to play it on that tiny screen. And when you hook everything up to your TV, it works fine. There's no lag or anything that I've run into, but it uses its own proprietary cables, like their own proprietary HDMI cable and controller ports and things like that. So that sucks. So you can't actually like switch it out for third party controllers and things, because the controllers that they give you are replicas of the Neo Geo CD controllers, which are fine, except they don't have micro switches in the joystick. So it's hard to gauge when you're doing moves in fighting games. And that's a problem because about 90% of the Neo Geo's library is fighting games. But I did get one of these. I got the Samurai, one of the Samurai Showdown editions. Again, whichever edition you go with, though, they're predominantly fighting games. Now, a few years ago, there was leaked photos, as often happens with Arcade One Up, of a Neo Geo Arcade One Up, and people got excited. Not SNK, they were not excited, and Arcade One Up lost their license for it. So Unico ended up picking it up, who makes these mini systems for them. Unico is made up of a bunch of former SNK people, so it's all sort of still in house. And Unico made a three-quarter scale SNK machine, actual Neo Geo machine for your house, which I think had like 60 or 80 built-in games or something for it. So I mean, it's a sizable unit and it's got everything you could possibly want for it. And all these minis were really cool, but none of them looked like the actual Neo Geo arcade machine, which was a big problem for a lot of people. For me, it didn't really matter because again, this is a mini. I'm just hooking it up to the TV to play it anyway. But for a lot of people, not having the look of the original Neo Geo arcade cabinet for the mini was a problem. So now, after all this time and 500 different iterations of their minis, we're getting a mini that looks like the actual cabinet. Is this something that has any interest for you?
Um, not, I mean, I'm pretty light on Neo Geo representation beyond, some emulation stuff. So in that way it does. This particular one coming out with a controller is at $100. If you buy it without the controller, it's at 80. Um, so price point's not bad. I mean, it's in the range certainly to go for. We've established before, while I don't mind fighting games, I'm not quite as passionate as Mike is on them. And there are 45 games on this system. But once you take the, multiple versions of King of Fighters and multiple versions of Samurai Showdown, those take big chunks out of that 45. Metal Slug is then the other, which isn't really a fighting game, but those kind of those take them out quite a bit. But there's still a decent diversity. I like the Neo Geo games overall, and they are, like I said, for what they are, I like them quite a bit. So I'll give it some consideration. It is definitely one though that I would never play it on the small version. It would be a game console, which kind of begs the question. And Madlittlepixel in his video mentioned this as well, which is like, just make this an Amiga 500 Mini thing. It's like don't put it out with a screen. Presume people are going to connect it up, and then maybe you could, with the money you've saved, not have display, do some other things. That said, the fact that they can kind of give it a nice, cool look, uh, you're not going to accomplish that with no screen. So I could see it either way. How about you?
So I already have one of the Samurai Showdown editions of the mini. I already own all of these games over and over again. At some point, I'll probably get the three-quarter scale Neo Geo cabinet because I was a big Neo Geo person in the arcades, particularly the Fatal Fury series which ended up taking over most of their library at some point. So Fatal Fury is what sort of morphed into King of the Fighters, which is their flagship series. And King of the Fighters crosses over with all of their franchise games. So Nintendo tried to copy it with their Smash Brothers series. So keep that in mind with it. So they pulled characters from all of their games to start putting into the King of Fighters games. So long before Nintendo was doing it. So, the Fatal Fury / King of the Fighters games was a big deal to me getting into fighting games as a kid. Um, at the time, I think a lot of people who weren't as knowledgeable about fighting games thought it was just like a rip off of Street Fighter 2 because they came out around the same time. But it's actually Fatal Fury was created by one of the creators of Street Fighter who ended up leaving Capcom because he didn't like the direction they were talking about going in for the sequels. So in a way, Fatal Fury is actually sort of an unofficial Street Fighter sequel, and it caused a big rivalry between the two companies because they were both known for their fighting games. And they actually later down the line, once cooler heads prevailed, they played up on this themselves and started making crossover games of SNK versus Capcom games that they started releasing for different platforms. And those were extremely popular as well. The one thing I'll complain about actually is the SNK versus Capcom games are readily available on any platform through various collections and downloads and things like that. They're extremely popular games, very, very well done. The one thing though is the games that most people know in that series were done in the Capcom style. NeoGeo and Capcom, while they both use sprite-based sort of anime-looking characters, um, Capcom was known for sort of softer edges on things, whereas NeoGeo has like a grittier, harder look to it. One of the games that was only released in Japan in that series was done in the NeoGeo art style. So that's the only one where you get to see all the Capcom characters done in the NeoGeo art style. And I actually prefer that game. And that has not been officially released on any kind of collection or mini or anything. And I don't know why. Capcom and SNK are more than happy to reissue these games a million times. So why that one is so elusive, you can get emulation of it though. But why that one is so elusive, I don't know. I would love to see that on
Little tip
something.
for you though. You don't need to whisper today.
True, true. So I don't know why there's not like an official reissue of that. So I would like to see moving forward maybe a Capcom versus SNK mini with all of the games in that series on it.
That'd be cool. Yeah, definitely. Well, we'd like to hear what you folks think. Is this something you're gonna go out and grab? What's your kind of favorite SNK Neo Geo stuff and form factor? And what else would you like to see as a mini? Hint, that's Jaguar. You want a Jaguar mini. You need to tell everybody you know. Jaguar mini. Do the math.
Bog Panda.